Hello and welcome to the Black Belt Project. I'm the virtual sensei at BlackBeltProject.com, where I teach you how to master your life one belt at a time. In this episode, I want to talk about what the Black Belt Project is and how it can help you get what you want out of life. Okay, so what is the Black Belt Project? Well, I think the best place to start in defining the Black Belt Project is to state what the Black Belt Project is not. And if you're like me, and over the years, I've read a lot of self-help material and motivational stuff, the vast majority of it has a common theme, and that the primary purpose of it is more of rah-rah material. It's cheerleading material to motivate you, to get you excited to do what you already know you need to do. But once that excitement wears off, once the motivation from that material passes, then typically you're still in the same point or worse than you were before, because you don't know exactly how to accomplish doing what you need to do when that excitement and motivation is not actually there. So the Black Belt Project is different in this sense. First of all, it's a specific set of strategies that you can use to actually do what you need to do. And not only that, the Black Belt Project is going to be a project where I'm not only going to share my strategies with you and then just sit back and go, well, they should work. I'm going to implement those strategies so that you can see them in action and see that they do indeed work. So let's get into a little bit more detail about what the Black Belt Project is going to talk about. Now, whenever you start a project, the first thing you want to do is have an outcome in mind. And the Black Belt Project is just a huge project. And so my outcome for the Black Belt Project in my mind at the outset is just a high level of mastery for everything that I do that's involved with my life. Now, mastery is one of those topics that's thrown around. It's given a lot of lip service, and we recognize it when we see it, and we know when we're not achieving it ourselves. And in a generic sense, mastery is different for you than it is for me. And as I work through my Black Belt Project and I show you the process that I go through, you're going to see how I define mastery for myself, and it'll be clearer for you to do that for you then. But in its broadest sense, it's setting a high standard of excellence for yourself, higher than anyone would expect of you, and higher than you'd probably even expect of yourself. So the first thing the Black Belt Project is just setting a high standard that you need to achieve. Now, once you've decided that you're going to set a high standard of excellence for yourself, or what I like to call, becoming a black belt at life, or whatever it is that you're focusing on at the moment, you're immediately going to discover that you're in a small percentage of the population, because most people don't expect that of themselves. Most people do average performances, and so you can't expect that you can share with people, hey, I'm going to be a black belt at this. I'm going to master this, and then tell them to be the police to make sure that you do it. Most common way this happens is someone wants to go on a diet, and they say, hey, don't let me eat that, when ultimately it isn't up to the person that you're telling to police you to do what you need to do. It's really up to yourself. So while I can show you the road to take, you're going to need the self-discipline to actually do the things you need to do. And really what's going to determine the success of your Black Belt Project more than anything is what you do when no one's watching you, when no one's pushing you to do it, and no one's asking excellence of you other than your desire to have it. So I'm going to show you in the Black Belt Project how to instill self-discipline, how to do the things you need to do, and how to avoid doing the things you don't want to do. I'll show you how I do that for myself and how you can do that too. All right, the third concept of the Black Belt Project is this concept of mental strength. We're going to spend a lot of time building mental strength. Now, most of us are familiar with physical strength, the ability to lift weights, move things around, do hard labor. And a long time ago, physical strength was probably the most important thing that somebody needed to have in order to be successful at life. But nowadays, physical strength, not that it's not important, but it's more of a secondary item to mental strength. Because in today's world, we need the ability to do tasks and not the ability to necessarily lift a lot of weight. So using a form of progressive resistance similar to weight training, we're going to use progressive resistance to build mental strength in what I call task training, to learn how to get our tasks done in the most efficient way possible, as quickly as possible, because really most of us are out of shape in that regard, in that when it comes to doing the things that we need to do, the reason that we're not doing them is just because we lack the mental strength to do the task. The task is too heavy. So the Black Belt Project, the third thing we're going to focus on is building mental strength so that you can get the tasks done that you need to get done to be successful. Now, the fourth area of the Black Belt Project that we're going to work on is this concept of incremental mastery. And so when it comes to mastery, if you say, hey, I want to master my entire life, it can be pretty overwhelming. And so therefore, rather than work on mastering our entire life at one time, we're going to start mastering one thing at a time, and then like an iron smoothing out wrinkles, we're going to kind of try and push mastery down. So at any point in time, we're not only going to be able to measure our mental strength like we talked about in the last segment, but we're also going to be able to measure at what level of black belt our life is. So we're going to use a form of incremental mastery to slowly move mastery throughout our entire life so that eventually we've completely mastered everything that we want in our life. And so that's the fourth thing that we're going to discuss and implement in the Black Belt Project. All right, so the final phase of what the Black Belt Project is about is probably going to be what I think is the most valuable thing to you if you follow along with what I'm doing here. Just to recap, we talked about setting a high standard. We talked about how we're going to learn to instill self-discipline, and how we're going to build mental strength through progressive resistance, and how we're going to use incremental mastery to master one small part of our life at a time and kind of move that through the rest of our life. But most self-help material, it tells you what to do or tries to motivate you to do it, but it's usually presented by someone who's already reached maybe a pinnacle of success. And what's missing is the journey from when they started to where they got to when they're giving you the information. So I wanted the Black Belt Project to be different in that regard, because not only do I want to tell you what to do, I want to show you those steps in action so that you can see that they do indeed work, and to show you the journey, because the journey isn't a perfect step-by-step process. And so how to work through those issues as you go along to develop your own level of mastery, and how I'll develop mine, is probably the most crucial and I think the most beneficial part of what the Black Belt Project is going to be about for you.